what you want, what you want.
Hey guys, this is P.M.R.Bonez88, and during the weekend I went to the movies in theaters and I saw was Star Trek Beyond. So Star Trek is the third and the last movie for the Star Trek franchises, and eventually all the cast members have returned, but J.J. Abrams, since he's doing the Star Wars films, he passes on the torch to a new director named Justin Lin. I saw Star Trek Beyond and it was actually a great sci-fi adventure movie. I really enjoyed it. The storyline was pretty good, and the cast members that played their characters, they were definitely good too, as always. But the elements that they used they took some of the elements from the old Star Trek films and put it into new film. So something tells me that they were starting to run out of ideas and starting to run out of some thoughts and of the adventures and what kind of story they could have used. Star Trek Beyond is a good film. Either way, they took some elements, and I felt a little disappointed that they couldn't use like new elements or new ideas for their adventures. So the movie is about with the Enterprise crew returning and into space and fighting off this villain named Krall. And then with all these visual effects and the CGIs were pretty intense, and they were nice and crisp to see the Enterprise getting destroyed by all these swarms of ships go through the Enterprise ship and it's being all demolished, and that felt familiar. They took that element from Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, and the Star Trek Generation, where both the original Enterprise ship and the Enterprise D that was like being destroyed and demolished. That was kind of the same element. That was sort of familiar. With all the crews that are now being separated and being this awful, dreaded planet, it's up to them to reunite and rescue from this villain Krall and stop him before he starts to create a serious Armageddon. With new characters being introduced, they face off a villain named Krall, which was played by Idris Elba. His character was very interesting, but the problem is with his character was that all he was just a vengeful villain. All the villains that we've seen was just revenge. They were just vengeance villains. Every single villain, that all they wanted was revenge or trying to get even with someone else. Now I can see why they were starting to run out of ideas. They could have just made this villain probably just a regular villain, like have a new priority or having a new sympathy of this villain. But kind of thing with Krall, all he was just a vengeful villain. Chris Pine and Zachary Quinto, that they play as both Captain Kirk and Spock, their characters, they were starting to evolve and their friendship was starting to grow even more. So their characters were pretty interesting, and I liked how they just like keep moving forward and not going backwards. So that was definitely a good thing. And the only thing that made me laugh and so hilarious was Simon Pegg playing as Scotty. Every time when he makes a reference or makes some sort of a weird joke or sarcasm, I burst out laughing about it. And I just love about his character. He just makes me laugh all the time. Sofia Boutella, I think that's how you pronounce her last name. I really don't know. If I mispronounced her last name, then I'm sorry. I apologize. Sofia Boutella, if you're watching this review, I apologize. Her character was very interesting. I just love her character, and especially when she just karate, kung fu everybody else's ass, and just she really kicks ass a lot. She's also familiar. I didn't know who she was at first, but then when I realized her name, and then without all the makeup and the white hair, that it was the same girl from Kingsman that had the feet with knives. That was her, and she really kicked ass a lot. But overall, with Star Trek Beyond, had a good a good storyline, but a little bit familiar, and they could have done it a little better. And with the direction that they were trying to make it as third and the last film of the Star Trek series, I think they almost pulled it off. But what was really great, it was like a tribute to the original Star Trek characters and how they tried to link it up together. Especially that it was also a tribute to Leonard Nimoy. Ever since his death, they decided to, you know what, just to tribute him because he was the original and the classic Spock. And ever since with Anton Yelkin's death, that he's the one that played Chekhov, it was so sad that he died in a car accident, and he died so young. I just wish if he was careful and very cautious, and he wouldn't have been alive, and they couldn't make more Star Trek films. But sadly, he did die too, so rest in peace Leonard Nimoy and Anton Yelkin. So just to rate this film, for Star Trek Beyond, I would have to give it a 9 out of 10. This movie just went beyond the world, beyond the galaxy and the space and stars. Good sci-fi, but like I said, the elements were very familiar, and the storyline felt a little bit familiar. They could have done a little better and trying to make some new ideas and different situations. That way it could have been a better Star Trek film. But overall, I think it's a good finale. I think it's worth it, and I don't think they should make any more Star Trek films. This should be good and last. And if they ever want to remake it or something, do the Next Generations. Let's see if anyone could be playing as Captain Jean-Luc Picard or Data. That way they could just make more Star Trek films for throughout generations to generation. And for like every single cast members that played their characters of Kirk, Bones, Spock, I think they did a good job. So I'll be looking forward when it comes on Blu-ray and DVD, so that way I can have my whole collections of the Star Trek series. And this is P.M.R.Bonez88 signing off. The saying is, peace!